My name is Edward Ebenezer Jeremiah Brown. I'm a football supporter of Ipswich Town. Wherever they play, you'll find me. I haven't missed a game since I was 3. With me scarf and me rattle and a big rosette, singing where was the goalie when the ball was in the net. Follow the town, up or down. I'm Edward Ebenezer Jeremiah Brown, but everybody call me Ted.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of We Follow the Town, a weekly show looking at all things Ipswich. And after a turbulent couple of days in the world of ITFC, from a new takeover to press conference drama, we're going to look back and discuss everything that's happened. But before we get on to today's show, we just need to plug our new sponsor. Julian Hughes is a golf coach at Old Joe's Golf and is a member of the World Golf Teachers Federation. Whether you're just starting out on your golfing journey or you already know how to play, Julian can help you improve your game. So what are you waiting for? Book lessons through Old Joe's or directly through Julian Hughes at 07392 834 199. I'll repeat that again, 07392 834 199. So let's get on to today's show, because I'm joined as always by Aaron Tester. First of all, how's your week been? And what are your initial thoughts on the new takeover?
Yeah, good week all round. Obviously, when I heard that the takeover was happening, I was just ecstatic, to be honest. It sort of blew me away. Obviously, I spoke to you just before this, and I was in a customer's house, and my phone just absolutely blew up with obviously Ipswich Twitter and friends and that just were all just buzzing because it sort of just come out of the blue. I said it a few weeks ago that we wouldn't even know it was coming. We'd all think it had died out and it was going away, and all of a sudden it would happen, and that's pretty much how it played out. So I was ecstatic.
So we'll talk about this probably a bit later on in the show, but should we be cautiously optimistic? Because I was talking to Rich Woodward on Wednesday, and we both agreed that we should maybe be a bit more cautious about this takeover, given the fact that Marcus Evans wasn't necessarily a huge success at the club.
I don't know. I'm going really optimistic with this one. I don't know how you sort of just get excited about it. I think I just love the idea of Marcus getting out of the way, somebody coming in with a bit more money and willing to spend and excited about investing in the club. I think, well, that will obviously improve this playing squad, and it'll prove obviously it looks like the matchday experience they're big on as well. So I'm excited about it.
Into the Premier League, maybe? Fingers crossed?
I think that's a bit far to look at so far, considering we're struggling in League One at the moment. Get us to the Championship, and maybe a year in the Championship, see if we're playing nicely then, and then I'll get excited. I think it all comes to the players that we get in the summer. If we get in loads of sort of ledge players, I'll start getting excited about it. But until then, I'm going to stay a bit down about Ipswich.
Okay, going off topic a little bit here. Surely we can't go up with the squad that we currently have. We're going to talk more about the MK Dons later, so get involved. But Aaron Drinan, he's not a good player at this level, is he? We need new players.
No, he's not good enough. I think we figured that out quite quickly with him. I know he works hard, he tries his best, but he's not good enough for this level. And I think that tells also that, I think last year, didn't we send him to Scotland or something? And he did okay.
United. So
so we send players there. He's had no involvement under any of the managers. All of a sudden this year he comes in and we think he's just not going to set the world alight, is he? Like Norwood's our best striker, and he's sort of in and out of injuries. So I don't think Aaron Drinan he's definitely not good enough. And this is last year of his contract anyway. I can't see him staying.
So I'll ask you more about who you want to keep and who you want to let go later on in the show. Just a few shout-outs to those who are in the chat. Good evening to Ryan Wazzer, ITFC Tweedy, and Luke Hume. Ryan Wazzer says, Marcus Evans wasn't a football man. These American people are. Luke Hume says, ME, and there still is opposite. Three Lions have a good time at Phoenix, whilst Evans hasn't got a clue what football was. So ultimately, because there seems to be a theme here that a lot of Marcus Evans, wasn't actually a football man. He had no idea what football was, really. He was more of a businessman, really. So at the end of the day, was that kind of the downfall of Marcus Evans's tenure at the club?
Well, yeah, it wasn't a great start. And also, if you've got sort of not a lot of clue about what you're getting into, then you've got to get great people round him. And he didn't do that either. So he got sort of people round him, sort of, I've forgotten their names now. Is it Milne? He got Milne
Ian
in.
Milne, yeah.
Milne. He's like, not big. Oh, yeah, don't start me on Leigh and Aaron. But yeah, that Milne he's not a proper football man. At least we know with the new guy that's come in that he's a football guy. He's been at West Brom. He's been at Oxford.
Was he still at the club? I thought Milne left a few years ago because I hadn't heard of him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he left a few years ago. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, people all the way through Marcus Evans's tenure have not been great football people, and they've obviously not given him great advice, because obviously at the time we all thought, oh yeah, Marcus Evans bringing in loads of money, and the downfall's been drastic.
So good evening to Lee Brown. Ryan Wazzer says he didn't like opening his pockets and wanting to succeed at the club. Okay, let's talk about that, and feel free to get involved in the comments. 14-15, we're in the playoffs. We're doing really well that season. We're top of the league in December. Should he have invested in January of that season? Because had he have invested, maybe would be in a better position than we are now. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. I know.
I was just about to say that hindsight's a wonderful thing, but that was the time to do it. We were playing out of our skins that season, and obviously, I think we were right near the top around Christmas time, weren't we? I think it was sort of November time. I think we pushed top of the league at some point, and that was definitely the time to do it. But I imagine at the time he thought, oh, obviously the playing squad's good enough. So I imagine that's probably why he left it. I know he brought Freddie Sears in, but it's hardly setting the world alight with Freddie Sears, even though he did do brilliantly that season. But obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing, and that's what I would have done. But we don't know what his situation is, you know.
So Luke Hume, Ian Milne, and LON were good guys, hugely passionate, for the club, but were just too far out of their depth. Luke Hume again says Marcus Evans spent a fortune keeping the club afloat. He should have invested in January of 2015. For sure, but you cannot accuse him of not caring about the club when he wiped off £100 million of debt. So that is a perfect segue for what I'm just about to talk about, because I was just about to ask what you think Marcus Evans' legacy is at the football club, because surely it hasn't been all that bad. Like, okay, he's not popular at the club. He's done plenty of bad things, such as not properly investing into the transfer kitty, but surely there are, I don't know, positives to take out of it?
The only positives I take out of Marcus Evans' tenure is what he's done at the end of it. Like, obviously, he's kept us... At no point did I think we were ever going to lose the club like a Berry or get in financial trouble, which is fine. Like, a safe owner is good to sort of even have a football club. That's great. But at the end, wiping off that debt, like Luke's just said, was absolutely massive. Like, when I saw that, he'd wiped off, was it £80 million worth of debt or something?
Yeah,
I saw he wiped
a lot
off.
of money.
That's so much money. It's more than he's probably ever spent in all the transfer windows put together. But that's mad that he'd done that, and that is one of the best things he'd done. And also, I was quite pleased that he was being a bit stubborn when it came to selling. So he's not selling to sort of anybody. You can see he cares about the club. He's been with us 13, 14 years, and I spoke to you before this. His girls are all big Ipswich fans, of course, because obviously they've been growing up with the club under Marcus their whole lives. So he's obviously got an affinity with the club now, but you can't look at Marcus Evans' sort of time at the club and not think it's a failure, considering how far we've dropped down. I know it's great what he's done now, and hopefully that's a massive thing that he's passed us on to new people and allowed us to move forward. So hopefully that's one of the things that we can look back on and say, oh, thank God Marcus did that. But in his 13 years at the club, must admit it's not been great, has it?
So, okay, would you welcome Marcus Evans at Portman Road? Because he went out and he said, okay, I'm a huge Ipswich Town fan, as you just said. His daughters are as well. So if you went to Portman Road, you had a Portman pie in your hand, you had a beer in the other, and Marcus Evans sat next to you as a fan, would you accept him maybe?
Well, he's just another. If he's coming, he has no need to come back to the club if he didn't want to. If he wanted to come back and be an Ipswich fan, what can you say other than he's another Ipswich fan? Great, like come along, no problem. I'm fine with that. He still owns a stake in the club. If he wants to support the club, great. But yeah, I don't have any problems with him being at the games. Obviously, I know when I've been at the games and the fans have been absolutely hounding Marcus when he's been there, and that's fine. But if he's let us go on to bigger and better things, and we see improvement, and we see the funds that have been spoken about, the significant funds, as I've just seen Ryan there, he's not an enemy. He's definitely welcome, 100%.
So, okay, I'm going to actually ask this question to those in the chat. So, what do you think Marcus Evans' legacy is at the club? Let us know in the chat or in the comments, and we'll get to them. We'll talk about it. So, okay, now that Marcus Evans has sold the club, do you reckon that the club is finally in a good place? 5 years down the line, can you maybe see us, I don't know, in the Premier League maybe? Upper tiers of the Championship, if that makes sense? Or do you think it's going to be a long, slow process due to the current state that we're in?
I really hope that it's quite a quick process from now. If we can get all of the sort of deadwood out this summer, they put their funds in, there's no salary cap this summer now. Just get all the players we want in and can afford to buy whatnot, and they want to come to the club under the new owners, ambitious owners. Straight up next season, if we don't do it this year, I can't see it myself, but if we don't do it next year, next season, and then make yourself a solid Championship team, and then see if we can push Premier League in a few years' time. I'm excited.
So let's talk about the takeover in more detail, because on the 7th of January, Evans officially sold the club to US investment group Game Changer 20 Limited and agreed to write off the majority of the debts, as you just mentioned. So the Three Lions funds, which consists of Brett Johnson, Burke Buckeye and Barry Detmer, own a 5% stake in the club, with Mike O'Reilly, I think that's his name.
Leary.
Actually, Mike O'Leary, I'll do that in the edits, taking over as the club chairman. So, okay, we've heard all the interviews. These new people are more than happy to interact with the fans, to talk to them. In fact, Brett Johnson even said that he'll give a few fans tickets once the stadiums open again. So do you think that it's actually great that they're actually talking to the fans? Because, of course, Marcus Evans did not interact with the fans at all, whereas these owners have already showed their faces more than Marcus Evans has in the last, 10 years maybe.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I've obviously on the day when they took over, straight away, interviews, Mike O'Leary, big interview. Then in the evening, Brett Johnson was talking to the... was he on BBC Look East or something? I was just watching the news, and all of a sudden,
I think.
Oh yeah, whatever it was. I just turned the telly on. All I see is Ipswich flags and Ipswich hat with an American accent in front of it, and that's more in that sort of few hours of them speaking that I've ever heard. Marcus, I don't even know what Marcus Evans sounds like. Where straight away, I know what these guys are about and how passionate they are from the club, just from how they've spoken.
And they're not going to have like a 12-point plan like Marcus Evans did, are they? Because Marcus Evans, he came out with the 12-point plan, I don't know how long ago, maybe 3 years ago, and that has spectacularly backfired. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't see the same from these new investors.
Well, I'm sure they're going to have a plan, because obviously they're going to need one to get us out of this division. I just hope with the experience of Mike O'Leary and the CEO that they're going to employ in the UK, with obviously a lot of football experience, hopefully they can actually deploy the plan that they're going to use more effectively than Marcus's.
So Lee Brown says, get rid of the rubbish on the pitch, not good enough. I think most of us would agree with that. And Ryan Wazzer, I honestly don't know what Ipswich are trying to do on the pitch. No pace, skill, intensity, lack of movement, and it's painful to watch. So we'll get onto that once we do the preview. But finally, just to kind of like wrap up this segment, do you reckon that Lee O'Neill will stay at the club? Because I don't really know what his role is. I don't really know what he does at Ipswich Town. Though he was there the other day with, what's his name, Mike O'Leary?
Yeah.
With Mike O'Leary. That's embarrassing. He was there with Mike O'Leary in the stands, although, again, his role hasn't really been specified.
Yeah, I don't really know what Lee O'Neill's going to do, or what they're going to do with him, because obviously he was with the academy before. So I'd look at putting him back there. Obviously, it's a massive jump from what his job was in the academy to what he then got put to do under Marcus. So I don't know what they're going to do with him, but I think it's a massive jump, whatever it was, to put him in the role that Marcus did. If he's got a role in the academy or somewhere like that, then great, because he seems a good guy. Obviously, I don't like saying, "Oh, he needs to lose his job, look elsewhere," because it just doesn't sit right with me. But yeah, hopefully, more experienced guys at the top would be great.
So, do you reckon that it was just poor PR on Marcus Evans' behalf, or do you reckon that Lee O'Neill was simply thrown in at the deep end? Because he came out a few months ago and he said, "Oh no, the takeover is not going to happen. There's been no talk of a takeover at all. I don't know what I'm talking about." So, yeah. Poor PR, or was he thrown in at the deep end?
I think it's just classic Marcus, throwing him in. Yeah, go and help these interviews. Go do these interviews for us. Just sort of settle the shit. And he was like, "Oh yeah, no new manager." What was it? Was it something to do with the manager? And then a few hours later, bang, Paul Cook or something like that.
Yeah,
it was
spot on. Yeah,
yeah, it was. I think that's just classic Marcus. He completely lost touch with the fans.
So, Luke, Jimmy went from academy manager to basically running the club off the pitch. Huge jump, thrown under the bus. So, okay, assuming that he's staying to become academy manager again, do you reckon that kind of shows ambition from the new owners, that they kind of want to prioritise the academy side of things? Because, of course, they've invested on our training pitch. They've actually bought the training pitch off Marcus Evans. So, if anything, does that show ambition?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't really know how the academy is run. I don't know what his job would be or what it entails. But if he's obviously, Marcus thought highly of him, but Marcus could think highly of loads of people, and it was a disaster. So I don't know if Mike O'Leary and the guys, the new investors, the new owners, like the look of Lee O'Neill and obviously think he's good at his job. Then great, there must be something good about him, and keep him around. But I don't know. I want the best of the best to be running everything, to be honest. And I think the new owners want that as well.
So let's get on to the news there, because apart from the takeover, a lot has happened in the world of Ipswich. And of course, if you're in the chat, get involved. Let us know what you think of what's been happening. And we're going to start off with the Town Youth Cup final win. So the Town under-18s progressed to the quarterfinals of the FA Youth Cup after defender Albie Armin netted an 84th minute winner as they defeated Middlesbrough 1-0. Borough are a second Category 1 academy side, and the Blues have seemingly knocked out a very good opponent. The Blues have won the FA Youth Cup on 3 occasions, 1973, 1975 and 2005, and we do indeed have a very promising academy. So, Aaron, what are your thoughts on our academy, and what are your thoughts on the quarter-final win?
Oh, it's obviously brilliant. Like, if we've got good youth players and they're winning the youth cups, then fantastic. I think both the under-18s and the 23s are top of the league now as well, aren't they, in their respective leagues, if I'm right?
Yeah.
I think the 23s have had a big win the other day. So if we can make that step from the guys in the 23s to get into the first team squad and really sort of flourish, then that would be great. But obviously you need the best people in the jobs to make them do that. I know. I think I heard that a big thing for the new investors is getting the category raised for our youth team. So at the moment, I think you said it's Category 2. I think they're trying to get into the higher category for the youth teams.
So maybe Luke in the chat can help us out with this. But what are categories? How do categories work?
I don't really know. I think it's partly to do with the investment that you can do into your youth team. I think that's a big part of it, like the scouting networks and the investment that you can actually make to improve in the youth team. I think that's a lot to do with what they want. But if somebody knows more than that, then feel free, obviously, put it in the chat, please. Help us all.
Luke Hume says Marcus Evans thought highly of Simon Clegg, so don't take his word for it. And okay, here's an answer. He went from academy manager to base. No, that isn't the answer. I was reading a previous comment.
That's Leigh O'Neill later. That was Leigh O'Neill.
Apologies about that. So I'm obviously running the tech side of things quite well here. So okay, elsewhere in the news, we've been linked to plenty of players, as we do every year at around this time. But we've been linked to Will Grigg, who, of course, was a cult hero a few years ago, had that catchy tune named after him. But he's been linked with a reunion with Paul Cook. And yeah, should we maybe take these links seriously? Because I saw a lot of people saying that, no, we shouldn't be taking them seriously. These things pop up every year. A lot of them don't really come into fruition. And we should really just brush it off. But yeah, Will Grigg to Ipswich, would you take him?
I've just seen a comment come here from Ryan. Will Grigg too old. Like, I know a few years ago, it must have been, how long ago was that now, where he burst on the scene, that song? 5 years? 6 years ago?
2016. So 5 years.
5 years ago. That was a long time ago. And have we heard a lot about him since? I don't think so. So I'm gonna, well, unless Paul Cook thinks differently and get a good tune out of him again, I don't know. But I'm trying to stay away from that one. If I was Ipswich, getting an aging striker that doesn't score any goals anymore, sums it up recently, doesn't it?
So I'm going to throw this one to the chat as well. Guess how many goals Will Grigg has scored in 43 games?
Oof.
I'll give you a clue. I don't think anybody will get this. He scored 19. He scored 19 in 43. No, not quite none. He's not quite Aaron Drinan level of bad, but 19 in 43. So he isn't exactly a prolific goal scorer. So should that maybe worry us?
I think 19 and 43 is not too bad, though, is it?
Really? Like 43 games? Like he has got an injury record, so he has been injured quite a bit.
I was going to say, if it's 19 and 43, that's more than any of our strikers would do in a season, if that's a full season worth of him playing. But if that's going to be over a long period of time, then injuries, not scoring enough goals, it's a bit of a disaster written all over it. And I think Ryan's just put in there again, I think must have bigger plans than Will Grigg, and I completely agree.
Exactly. So actually, sticking to what Ryan just put in the chat, what kind of players do we reckon we should maybe go for? Because in my opinion, maybe we should be aiming for championship players, players who are definitely going to get us promoted, as opposed to has-beens, because we've signed a lot of has-beens, a lot of players who haven't exactly hit their potential. Maybe we should be going for like better players who have a proven track record.
Well, money talks. I think under Marcus we didn't have the money to go and take players off clubs, you know what I mean? So under Mick McCarthy, we were getting free agents, a full team full of free agents, basically, under Mick McCarthy. And fair play, he made it work for the time he was there. But that's no way to push a club forward. That's no way to get the fans excited about a new player coming in, getting him from a free, and he hasn't played for a whole year, or he doesn't get played for his club, just coming back from injury. Oh, let's get him on a free, see how he gets on. If we can take players from clubs, exciting players, then that will get us all excited.
But surely, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, but surely Paul Hurst did that during his first season in charge, because he brought in a lot of League One players, but these League One players were linked with championship clubs. They were good players. William Edwards was highly rated. Caden Jackson was. Jordan Roberts, he wasn't exactly highly rated, but he was a punt. So what's to say that this won't happen again, like where we invest but go down?
Yeah, but the thing is, what you've said there, we were a championship club at the time, and we brought in a whole load of League One players. It wasn't one or two League One players to make us better. it was a whole load of them, and then to integrate them into a championship team and expect us to do well, sort of a recipe for disaster. I know at the time we all thought, oh yeah, loads of new players coming in, great. But I don't think it took us long to realise we were in big trouble.
And when you look at our squad now, the majority of our squad still consists of those players. And those players still can't get Ipswich Town promoted. Gwion Edwards, he hits hot and cold, if that makes sense. You know, he started the season really well, but then he got injured and he's not playing anymore. And Caden Jackson, like, what's happened to him? But Ryan says, I think the new owners, they will pick up the best players around League One or the Championship on decent wages to play in League One. And to be honest, I think he's spot on when saying that like the new owners have to show ambition, don't they, Aaron?
100%. Yeah, and I think they're going to, especially early on, because otherwise it will be a complete waste of time what they've invested in. Obviously, they've invested in Ipswich because they think it's a promising club that's got the scope to move forward. But then if they don't invest in the playing squad, they're going to put a load of money into Ipswich Town, and they're going to do exactly what Marcus did and lose money every year. So I think they've got to go and get out some of the best players in the league.
So let's get on to other news, and later on we will be talking about the MK Dons game. We're leaving that till last as there isn't much really to talk about. Striker Ben Falami and midfielder Alan Virel have both left Portman Road with their contracts being up, alongside Adam Prisbeck, Harry Wright, Kai Brown and Zach Brown. Falami was an Australian under-23s international, and he joined the Blues as a scholar when he was 16 years old, and Virel joined as a scholar as well, and he also made 2 appearances in the Puppet Johns Trophy. So what does it say that we're actually letting go of all of these players already? Because surely that shows that the project is beginning to take shape.
I think 100%. I was a bit surprised about I think it's Kai Brown, the striker. He scored a few goals in the 20 in the 23. So I was a bit surprised about that one. But Harry Wright's been around a long time. He's obviously not good enough, otherwise he'd be in the team. They'd stop trying to get replacements in. So I can understand that one. It's a shame, obviously, because obviously his dad was Ipswich and all that sort of stuff. So that's a shame. But if they're not good enough, what's the point of keeping them around? So I think that's the first of many.
Exactly, and Lee Brown says, get rid of Jackson, not good enough. And Ryan says, I like Jackson, but yeah, he doesn't seem happy at Ipswich. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate once again. Is Jackson not good enough for Ipswich Town? Or is it simply a case of him not being played in the right position, the wrong players being around him, and the fact that he isn't happy at Ipswich Town? Because, of course, his move to Huddersfield didn't happen. It got cancelled, if you can say that, at the very last minute. I
think we're going to regret that decision not to let him go. When they were offering sort of £2 million, I think it was, wasn't it, for Caden Jackson?
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but he had a good season for us, and that's when we're all thinking, oh no, we'd have to keep hold of him because he was probably up there with our best players last year, for top goal scorers and assisters. So at the time we were like, oh no, don't let him go. But then as soon as this season's really started and he's not played a lot and he's not scoring any goals, I think we're all thinking, yeah, we should have let him go when we did. But obviously his heart's not at it. And we're going to get nowhere near the money than what we're going to get. So they'll probably end up letting him go anyway. But it's just a shame, really, because it happens every time we get a good. So say with the players that we let go a couple of seasons ago in the Championship. So we let go of the centre half Webster. Waghorn, everybody. So we let go of Webster. This is the main one, Webster, for what was it, £3 million or something?
3 million, 4 million, not a lot at all.
Yeah, and he played one season at Bristol City, and then they sold him for about £19 million to Brighton.
No clause as well.
That sums up actually everything to do with Marcus Evans' reign. It's always too soon or too late. We never get it right.
And do you want to know what's worse about that? There was no clause in the contract at all. So we didn't get any money from him being sold to Brighton. Like maybe we would have got exactly. So like that is embarrassing in a way. And we let go of David McGoldrick as well. He was always injured. So I think a lot of us then were happy that he kind of left. But, since then, he's gone on to play well at Sheffield United. He's like a cult hero there. They love him. And he hasn't been injured once. So surely this is on Marcus Evans' hands and not the individual players.
I think it's the system that we had running here. So obviously if we don't have the best people doing the best jobs, obviously Bristol City done a great job. And I think the guy that's number one favourite as the CEO is the Bristol City CEO. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later, but I can't. I'm not looking at my notes, so I don't really know his name.
No, I can't remember his name, but that's what I heard. That he was, because he's worked with Mike O'Leary in the past, I believe at Oxford. So that'd be good if we could get somebody in with proper experience and we know can do it at championship level and get us being profitable as a football club.
Okay, so Ryan here, he brings up an interesting fact. Yeah. Do you remember when Leicester offered $9 million for McGoldrick and Ipswich rejected? Yes, I do remember that. And if you also remember, I think it must have been a few years before that, we put in a bid to sign the one and only Jamie Vardy. So as we said earlier on in the show, hindsight is a wonderful thing. But let's talk about the Bristol City, CEO Mark Ashton, because I'm looking at my notes here. Speculation has started to mount in the last couple of days. He is being linked to a role at the club, and to be honest, he isn't that popular at Bristol City. They don't like him at the club. They'll be very happy if he went. And Bristol City boss Nigel Pearson was asked about the rumours linking CEO Mark Ashton to Ipswich on Monday, and if I can get the quotes up, this is what he said. If he has, then I'm not going to talk to you about it, am I? In the nicest way possible. It's not really my place to ask him things like that. So basically, he didn't really say anything. But no. I don't really know why I read that quote. A bit pointless, really.
They say he's not popular, but he did a great job with them.
Under Lee Johnson.
Yeah, and I think they're still sort of in and around it. I don't think they're awful. The first couple of seasons he was there, I think he'd done a brilliant job, and they'd have all absolutely adored him. I don't know if he's got a bit big for his boots in the last couple of years there or not, but I think he's obviously good at his job. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there.
Exactly, and as I just mentioned, Lee Johnson. Do you remember when they knocked Manchester United with Zlatan Ibrahimovic playing in their side out of the Carabao Cup? Lee Johnson was highly rated at Bristol. That they loved him there, and of course, Mark Ashton. He had a role to play in that.
Yeah, and plus, it's every time you hear about Bristol City, they're becoming a bigger and bigger club. Every time we hear about Bristol City, their stadium improves slightly. This and that improves. Everything's building up and building up. I think it's only a matter of time with Bristol City before they do become sort of a big club that's pushing Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. And they have good players as well. They have Han Mosengo, who was a 16-year-old when he came to the club. He was a French youth international, was linked to Manchester United. And these are the kind of players that Mark Ashton has almost managed to bring in. So, surely that looks great. Surely that is something we should maybe be happy about.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. Ryan, obviously you just put it up there. Ryan's just said it. They've been in and around it for a while now. They're getting bigger and bigger as a club. It's not going to be long before they're ready to go with the Premier League. So if that is the rumour that he's coming to us, and if that does happen, I think Mike O'Leary did say during his interviews it's not going to happen overnight getting the CEO in. So this might be what he's talking about. It might be end of the season. It might be a couple of months before anything happens with this job. But if it's somebody of that sort of calibre, I can only be excited about it.
So let's talk about his role, because I assume he's going to kind of have like a director of football like role, which is something we've never really had at the club. We've never really had a director of football, have we? So, okay, with a director of football, that's what I'm assuming his role is going to be. Is that something that's going to benefit the club long term, especially with signings? Because, like imagine if Marcus Evans had a director of football who knew about football and he could have guided him in the transfer market and what to do with the club. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's the modern way of football now. I think everybody's having directors of football or somebody that's big into the scouting and big into the transfer fees and transfers in general. So obviously, I don't know what the role is. He would. I think listening to Mike O'Leary, it'll just be a CEO role, which I don't know what entails, but he'll be doing every single day at the club. Whereas that Mike O'Leary said he'd do two or 3 days at the club a week. That CEO will be hands on every single day. What that entails, I don't know. But I think a director of football is always a good thing, or somebody in a similar role to that, especially nowadays.
So, okay, both you and I are season ticket holders. I was a season ticket holder a few years ago before the pandemic. And I think you're a season ticket holder last season. Am I right in saying that?
I am still a season ticket holder for my sins. Yeah, I'm still hanging on just.
You're bullying yourself there.
I am. I'm sort of slitting myself to bits every week or every month when that little bit comes out the bank account for Ipswich Town. Kills me every time.
Well, here's some news that you might be interested in. Compensation options and season ticket pricing has been delayed following the takeover.
Yeah.
Town have delayed confirming compensation options for season ticket holders for this season and the pricing for the 2021-22 following yesterday's takeover. In a statement on the club's website, it read, "The club would like to make season ticket holders aware that confirmation regarding the refund options available because of restrictions to home games this year will now not be announced this week." So what do you make of the news? Because in my opinion, they might see a huge increase in the amount of people who might want to actually attend games now because we have a new manager. Not working out for him at the moment, but you can't really blame him for that. New owners, maybe a new CEO/director of football. So, like if I was a season ticket holder, I'd want to go.
I was just about to say something very similar. They've got a massive opportunity now as these new shareholders, new owners, to really do something great for the fans. If they could give us a great, obviously good compensation for this year and a great offer for next year, maybe reduce the price and get people in the door. If we could get people excited about Ipswich Town again and through the door with a great deal, imagine the buzz at Coleman Road when everybody can get back in there in the new season. Everybody's had tickets, well, money off their season ticket or whatnot and compensated for this year. If you can just get the mood up in the club, imagine they'll absolutely bouncing when the new season comes along.
So do you reckon they'll still keep iFollow up? Because for a lot of fans who can only attend a game once a month, like me, for example, iFollow will be important. So do you reckon they'll still keep it, or do you reckon clubs will eventually ditch it for, regular games?
iFollow was around before the pandemic, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you could only listen to it via audio, and I think a lot of people would prefer it if they can maybe watch it. Of course, during weekdays, like Tuesday games, Friday games, they were on iFollow with the audio, but weekend games, due to the 3 o'clock restrictions, they weren't really broadcasted.
I think they will for now. Well, I'd hope they will, because I think there's going to be a lot of fans, probably even the more elderly, the more worried about going to games, that are going to want to watch it still. And if they don't have a place to watch it, that's going to be bad for the fans. I think they should definitely keep it around. I know iFollow's not great, and we don't always like it because the guy on the camera is absolutely shocking. But but I think it's a good thing to have still, because I know we're all excited about lockdown restrictions lifting next week and hopefully next season getting back in grounds. But a lot of people aren't going to want to do that yet. A lot of people are still going to be very nervous.
And there's this huge thing about vaccinations as well. Like, I haven't had my vaccination yet.
No, neither.
So, as we're both relatively young, we're probably not going to get the I forgot what it's called, the vaccinations yet, are we? So who knows? Maybe when the stadium's open again, we won't be able to go. I will be
very, very, very angry if this passport thing happens. I just think it's an outrageous idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to get political here, but the fact that we've been sort of protecting the elderly for over a year, and then all of a sudden the elderly can go to the games and we still got to suffer, will really wind me up.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case, because I saw a stat the other day saying that you're more likely to fall out of a roller coaster than to die of COVID if you're under the age of 45.
I had it. I was fine.
I don't know whether I've had it. I've not shown any symptoms. But yeah, that would really annoy me if they do a passport. That would really bug me. And but it's something that they would do. It's just, but it's pointless. The odds, the stats tell you that it doesn't matter.
And it seems so hypocritical, doesn't it? Because one minute they're encouraging people to eat out to help out, and the next minute they're saying to all of those who have sacrificed the best years of their lives, because that's what they say about people in their 20s, they're asking them to stay indoors, not to go to places because they haven't been vaccinated yet. So, it's a huge, and I don't want to get political as well, but a huge, and you can swear on the show, clusterfuck.
Yeah, I keep the swearing to a minimum so far on this show, but I will if it comes to it, and there's a vaccine passport, wherever it is, and I can't go to the football. When it comes to it, I'll be very upset. But the thing is, as I've just said about the stats, like, what is the point in it? If you're over the age of 55, whatever it is now, and you've not had the vaccine and you get it and become ill of it, if you go to a game, that's on you. That is completely your fault. Nobody else's. Because obviously the stats say, as I just said, you're more likely to fall off a roller coaster than die of COVID as a young person. And I know people have got ill and have lost their lives, and it's very unfortunate. But it's minor, the amount of people that's happened to. And if, as I said, if it comes down to it and the over 60s, whatever, have decided, actually, no, I've not got my vaccine for whatever reason, then that's on them. I don't think you should be blaming young people that are fit and healthy. Maybe not me so much anymore, but I'm doing me running back on it. And I just think it'll be outrageous.
Evening to Julian Hughes. We're talking about the stadiums reopening, just in case you've just joined us, and whether everybody should be allowed to go or just those who've been vaccinated. But I'm going to just add one more point to this conversation, because in my opinion, why bother opening the stadiums anyway if people are going to be restricted? Okay, I know only a certain number of people can go. That's what is almost to be expected anyway. But if your prime fan base, because a lot of Ipswich Town fans are young, a lot of them have grown up around the area. I know I did, and have actually grown up supporting Ipswich. If they can't go to the games, then what's the point of opening? Because you're not going to get many people, and the people who are going to go probably won't want to go because they don't want to catch COVID themselves. I saw also, I was listening to Darren McAntony's podcast, the Peterborough owner. He does a podcast as well, and he was talking about how you're going to lose a whole section of fans, because obviously people want to go. If people go as a family, so like say mum and dad and two kids want to go to the football, you have to get a test before going to the football. So you have to organise to get 2 tests done before the football. The effort will be too much. Nobody will want to then go. So you're going to lose a whole load of new fans. And as Ipswich, we've got fans that are we've got an ageing fan base. And I think everybody sees that. I sit in the Cubbold stand. There's not one young person around me. And it's quite nice, actually, apart from the time it's like, oh, Eric Gates would have done better than that. And I was like, right, okay, yeah, that's 40 years before my time. But that's the sort of fan base we've got at the moment. I know we've got some young fans coming through, but we're going to miss out on such a big amount of fans that aren't going to, their mum and dads aren't going to want to take them because of the effort of going to football games. Yeah, and I was listening to Talk Sport the other day, and they were talking about restrictions for those who want to go to the Euro games, as at the Euros, they'll allow 25,000 people in at Wembley. And apparently you have to take a test the night before, and then you have to confirm whether you've tested positive or negative. Now, there are many loopholes in that, because what if you, segregate, mingle with a whole lot of people who do have coronavirus after you've tested negative? There are so many loopholes to these I don't know what you call them, precautions maybe.
Well, I went and got a test. It was some point last year, and the next day, it took a few hours. The next day, it came back saying inconclusive.
Yeah.
Imagine how gutted you would be if you'd got tickets to be one of those 20-odd thousand people going to see England at Wembley, and then on the day it says, "Oh, actually, inconclusive. You need to go get another test." I'd be absolutely mortified.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised because, I was locked in for about 2 weeks, and when you're stuck inside feeling well, it's no fun at all. But fingers crossed, hopefully the Labour Party, because I'm Labour, I don't really want to talk about politics. Sorry to all of those.
Oh, yeah. Well,
hopefully they'll vote against it.
Yeah, well, you never know.
So anyway, Ryan let's get off the politics because we might be losing people already. They might be clicking the dislike button. So we're a new podcast. Please don't. Ryan says, with the new owners, I'm sure we will gain more fans. And then he said new era. Now let's talk about that. Let's finally get back onto the football. So do you reckon that the new owners will gain younger fans? Because look, we could maybe be a successful club. We could maybe do a Sheffield United and climb up the leagues, like from League One to the Championship, spend a few years in the Championship, that's fine, and then to the Premier League. So,
I think they've spoken about this enough time, and it all comes with results. If we keep on being in League One and keep on being a bit rubbish, you're not going to get a whole load of new fans in. People get excited about your club being good and winning games and being exciting to watch. As soon as that starts happening, we get promoted, we're in the Championship, we start winning games, scoring lots of goals, fans will be flooding in. Like, it won't be long before there'll be 20-odd thousand in Portman Road every week.
That's something to look forward to. And Julian Hughes here says 3 years of success and everything will change.
Absolutely.
And to be, that is spot on because, should we get promoted? Should we have a successful 3 years? Younger people will want to, join us, if that makes sense. There are so many big clubs out there like Man City, Liverpool. A lot of young people would rather support them and not a wonderful club with history like Ipswich. But anyway, Ryan says Burnley hardly spent and don't really spend much now, and look at them. Okay, so there's a good case study. Why didn't that happen under Marcus Evans? Was it because we didn't have the right people recruiting players, or was it simply because he was pointless?
I think it was probably a mixture of things. I don't know the ins and outs of how Burnley's run as a club, but they obviously look like a really well-run club, and they've got a great coach. So they can only do well. Well, they're doing well. I know they done me over in a bet today. Actually, I had them on to win, and they proper screwed me. It was against Newcastle, wasn't it? But,
I'm lucky. I won a tenner.
Oh no, I had a few £100 sitting there. If Burnley, I watched it for the rest of the day. I know Sunday's a bit of a bad day for bets because you've got to sort of wait for the results to come in. I'd rather do it on a Saturday. But yeah, Burnley let me down real early, and I was a bit gutted about that. But they're obviously a good club, and obviously they've recruited right in the past. They've got some great players, and they've got a good coach, so that's why they're doing so well.
So Lee Brown says it's all about the right recruitment. Spot
Absolutely.
on.
Yeah.
And Julian Hughes, here's a lovely comment. I have 3 daughters, 2 sons and 12 grandkids, and now we have new owners. They all want season tickets. I'll be working overtime. Now, we spoke about Marcus Evans and the fact that his kids also support Ipswich. This is a fantastic opportunity, talking about the youngsters, talking about Julian's grandchildren, to, as we said, get them on board, get them on side, maybe do a few offers, put discounts on the kit, do anything it takes to get them on board.
Yeah, they've got a massive opportunity. The new owners have got a huge opportunity to get a whole new buzz around the club. But we've been doing those little promotions, them sort of little £10 games and bring your kids for free and whatnot. And Ipswich always stink the place out when we do that. As soon as I say bring a mate for free, I'm almost like, oh, that's it, 0-0, dreary, awful, lumping it forward, just constantly awful. And if we're on telly, guaranteed the same, awful. So yeah, but we need the right players. It's all about recruitment. Leigh said it perfectly earlier. It's all about recruitment. It's all about getting the right people into the club to make us attractive on the pitch. And if we see attractive football on the pitch when we do such promotions next season, or when we do have the new owners in, people will want to come back.
Okay, so get your thoughts in the comments, carry on the conversation because we love the fact that you're all getting involved. So, okay, the final bit of news before we talk about yesterday's board draw. What a way to sell the review. Final game against Fleetwood moves to Sunday. So the Blues' last game of the season at home to Fleetwood has been moved to Sunday, the 9th of May, with a midday kickoff along with other final day League One fixtures. Originally, that wasn't the case. Not all games were originally going to be played at the same time. So, okay, last day of the season, we're 1 point below the playoffs, and we're counting on other results which are going on at the same time to go elsewhere or elsewhere. What do you make of that? Are you nervous by the fact that they've kind of like done that with the fixtures?
I think they do. I think they do that every year, don't they? Do they not move it? Don't they move them all the time? I think they do that in the Premier League because they used to not do that, and you can get
in the Premier League, I think.
Yeah, because I'm not sure, but I think it's probably the best thing to do to play them all at the same time. So it's even though for the fans will be the nails will be absolutely chewed to the bone, but it'll be great to. I think it's good. Obviously, if we're in and around it, I hope we are in and around it at the end of the season to be that excited, but we'll be unreal.
So Lee Brown says 15,000 season ticket holders easy. Yeah, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Imagine 15,000 season ticket holders, another 10,000 buying tickets on match day. Portman Road will be absolutely rocking, wouldn't it?
USA flags all over the place. USA. It will be fantastic. I'm excited for that if that happens. I just hope 15,000 people don't buy the season tickets and we end up sitting at home again. That would be so dreadful.
Oh God! Like imagine if we. I don't.
Sorry for bring the mood down drastically there, but if that happens again, I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm definitely going to get a season ticket again. But terrible.
Wouldn't that be the classic Ipswich thing to happen there?
It would, yeah.
It would, wouldn't it? That would be pure Ipswich.
Yeah, it would.
Paul Lambert comes in again, second stint at the club.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get on to the match because we're an hour in and we haven't actually spoken about the boring MK Dons match yet. Again, I'm really selling it to you all. Yeah. So anyway, I have the two teams here, the two starting lineups. Apologies if you can't see that because I wear glasses and I can't see that at all. So another tech problem. So MK Dons lined up with a 3-5-1-1. I love the fact that we're both squid to get the screen. And Ipswich lined up with a 3-5-2. And of course, there was interesting team news. Flint Downs returned to the Blues' lineup with Armando Dobra and Aaron Drinan also coming into the team as Paul Cook switched what appeared to be a plan D as he looked to get Town's playoff push back on track. So, okay, let's talk about, because I just said that this is his plan D. And as you can see there, he switched the formation once again. So, can we really call this a plan D? Because all of these players are absolutely abysmal. Troy Parrott was on the bench. Surely he's a better option than Aaron Drinan up front because Troy Parrott is highly rated at Spurs and he can score. We've seen it. We've actually seen him score before. So, yeah, like, why pick a team like this? Because when the news came out, I think I read some journalists say, okay, huge team news. There's been a huge change. You know, we should all be excited. And then we see this come out. That isn't exactly inspiring, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't say that was an expiring team selection. I was happy to see Flynn Downs back in the team. He's far and away our best player. When he's on his day, he's just on another level to everybody else. Drinan never really fills you with confidence with goals, as we've said on here earlier. Armando Dobra, I always like seeing Armando Dobra's name because he can be exciting. But it's whether we can get anybody else to be exciting with him or help him out. Ward, I don't know. Is Kenlock injured or something? Ward's been...
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think Kenlock is injured. I just think that he's not fancied at the moment, which is really odd.
Because Kenlock had one bad game and that's it. He's out of the team, which is...
So did Matteson. Like, Matteson is a great young player. Where is he?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's obviously he's obviously chosen the team with what he's seen in training or what he likes, or I don't know. I feel like he's gone for all of our own players there, hasn't he? Yeah, he has.
Yeah,
every single one of their own players, and I can see why he'd have done that. Look what he's got. See if he's got potential. I was buzzing when Nydam come on off the bench, because I've seen him in
What a
town
player.
far too many times. Nydam, when he's been injured, I saw him in nights out and stuff like that. And I was thinking, "Oh, you're not in rehab, getting your training done." But it was good to see him last night. He looked like he done okay as well when he came on. So it's nice to see him back. He works hard. But yeah, there's no bite in that team whatsoever. There's no goal scoring threat that I can see there, and that showed when we were watching.
Well, as Lee Brown says, does Alan Bishop too lightweight, sorry. And Julian Hughes says, this season is unreal. We have been so poor and we are only still 3 points of the playoffs. Now, I want to talk about 3 things here. First of all, I want to go to this comment here because surely that proves just how poor this league is, because League One has probably been the poorest league we've ever been in.
It's been awful. Every week I watch and it's shocking. Like, I honestly think sometimes we play on Monday nights down 7-a-side. We played lovely stuff last week. And I watch it and nobody can string a few passes together. MK Don's second half, fine, they looked okay. They could string a few passes together. But not once this season I thought, oh yeah, Ipswich are really playing some football now. It's all just lump it down the line and hope for the best. It was dreadful.
Exactly. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, again, let's talk about the formation a minute, the 3-5-2. I think Mick Mills actually got it wrong on Radio Suffolk. I think he got the entire formation wrong, but this is what I've got. Gwion Edwards and Stephen Ward as wing-backs. Stephen Ward, he's 35, almost 26 years old. He can't run to save his life. He hasn't played well at all. And Gwion Edwards is a winger whenever he's played wing-back. When he played it under Paul Lambert, he didn't play well at all. So what was Paul Cook thinking with having 2 wing-backs who've never actually played in the role? Okay, I know Stephen Ward is a full-back, but he's not a wing-back. So, yeah, like, what are your thoughts on that? What is the point of playing these 2 there?
Yeah, I don't. When I watched the game, it looked like Wolfenden was playing as a right back. I don't know what was happening. I don't know what the formation was trying to be. When I was watching it, I thought it looked more of a 4 at the back. But then even then, Gwion didn't look great.
He didn't look comfortable, did he?
No, he just seems to have lost a bit of spark. When he used to run at plays, you just think, oh, go on then, take him on. He just looks like I don't know, maybe the injuries hampered him. Maybe he's come back a bit too soon. I don't know.
And don't forget, he's been played out of position far too much this season. I think he was played in midfield at one point. Okay, I know I said he played wing-back under Paul Lambert a lot, but even Paul Cook played him at wing-back last game. Not the MK Dons game, the game before that. So yeah, like that's not going to help your confidence, is it?
No, it can't help your confidence, but it's a tough one, isn't it? He's obviously trying stuff because he's not getting anything out of the team. And I think he's got a lot of young players in there that he's trying to get to, well, work hard for him. And he's not getting it still. It's a tough one.
But the one good thing, and okay, please put your thoughts in the comments down below whether you think this is a positive, because in my opinion, it most certainly is. Our back 3 of Wolfenden, Enciala, and Luke Chambers. I love the fact that I'd squint just to look at that. They've been absolutely solid this season. In my opinion, Enciala should probably be player of the season because, okay, he does have that ricket in him. He does have that mistake, but I think all League One players have. But they've been solid. He's been solid. They've been actually a major good point, if that makes any sense at all.
No, I agree. Obviously, the last 2 games, we've not played against great opposition. I know MK Dons aren't far away from us in the league, I don't think, at the moment. They're not too far anyway. But did they look like scoring? Maybe a couple of times they looked like scoring, but not enough. But it was exactly the same as against Rochdale. None of them really had any chances. NCR's done well NCR's done well this season. You know what? Chambers has even done well this season at right back.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, and it's nice to see him playing back at centre half because he's not great at right back, but he's done okay. Like they've all done okay at the back. At the back, we've not been shocking. It's been everywhere else that we're well off the pace.
So, okay, let's go on to Luke Chambers again because, okay, in my opinion, and I know I'm going to get shouted at maybe in the comments, but he is almost a scapegoat because, okay, he has had poor performances, but this season he hasn't been too poor. I don't think the defence has been poor this season. I reckon it's been midfield and up front. So Luke Chambers, we spoke about this last week on the show with Rich Woodward. We said that we'd actually keep Luke Chambers. He wants to stay at the club. He's obviously passionate. And he's the only captain at the club, the only guy who's captain material who actually knows the club. So, yeah, your thoughts on Luke Chambers and, of course, in the comments as well, and whether you would keep him.
I would keep him. I think he's a good voice around the training ground. I've got a friend who's makes a bit of sense actually. He says he's oversaw the downfall of Ipswich, which is understandable. Like, because he has done. But I think he's one of them that actually cares, and you can see it on his face every game when they've not played well. He cares so much about getting good results and trying to play the best he can, which I can't say for all of them. I personally would keep hold of him, Chambers, even if, to be honest, I don't want to play him every week, but I just want him to be there, like as a voice in the changing room, help out the young lads, show an example in training. If he is a good trainer, I don't know. I don't watch him train, but just to be a great voice in the changing rooms, because he's not the right back or the centre half that's going to get you up and keep you up and move forward and try and get Premier League. That's not going to happen. But I think somebody that knows the club like Chambers does, somebody that cares, I think he's always good to keep around.
So, okay, we have quite a few comments in the chat. Thank you very much for getting involved. Reese Curtis says, NCR player of the season, which is something I thought I would never say. I think we can both vouch for that, because I don't think we ever foresaw that being a realistic thing. Julian Hughes says, apart from sick note Norse, who is well and truly a sick note, we have no one to put the ball in the back of the net, no wide men to create anything. I think if you take Norwood out of all the combined goals, all of the other forwards only have 4. So, okay, James Norwood, and, he has been plagued with injuries. He wasn't plagued with injuries at Tranmere Rovers, nor was he plagued with injuries at Forest Green Rovers, but for some reason at Ipswich, it just hasn't worked out for him. So do we maybe need to replace James Norwood? Because we can't have just one striker who can score goals. Because, like Drine and Sears, they can't score, can they?
Well, they'll be going in the summer anyway. Those two will be going. I think a lot of the team will be going. I was certainly watching the game and I was thinking, right, Chambers out of contract, Guion out of contract, Teddy Bishop out of contract, Finn Downs and Dazelle still be here. Stephen Ward out of contract. Aaron Drynen's going. And I wonder Armando Dobres will still be here. But a lot of that team that I've just noticed there won't be here next year. So hopefully with these new owners coming in and spending a lot of money, we won't have to rely so much on James Norwood all the time. But he does add something to us when he plays. I know he's a sick note, but last season he played a lot of games for us injured. And that can't have helped. Last season, playing injured.
No, and he played Fleetwood injured as well. So
yeah, you can't. I'd hate all of this slating him for being injured. Like I think he gives it everything when he plays for us, and he really adds a new dimension. But he is injured a lot now.
So okay, I'm just reading through verbal diarrhea there. Sorry, a few of the comments. Chambers to stay as a squad player, coach role. Rob Bug says, I know he's been injury-free. I think he's talked about Luke Chambers there because he hasn't really been injured that much this season. Lee Brown, Chambers, not the greatest, but will always be available for selection. Definitely keep him. So again, we were just talking about the strikers, weren't we? We've already spoken about Luke Chambers. So Norwood, what do you think about his conduct on social media? Because I remember the very first show we did together, the first thing we spoke about was James Norwood and his fight, if you can even call it that, with Andre Dazel's cousin. So he's been in the wars a bit again on social media. He put a post out there criticising Mick Mills and Brennan Woolley on Twitter. And of course, he got a lot of abuse for that. And a lot of the abuse, as you just said, was about his injury record. So do you reckon that he should maybe concentrate more on his personal image as opposed to like the way he conducts himself at the club, as opposed to being on social media? Because he hasn't been a good influence for young fans on there at all, really.
No, I can see what you're saying there about the young fans, but yeah, it's not a great look, is it? Him being so sort of unprofessional, is
Mouthy
it?
as well.
Yeah, but to be honest, you can see that in his character when he plays. He's mouthy when he plays. He's always in the linesman's ear. He's in the referee's ear, and I think that does add to his game. To be honest, I quite like looking at it. I'm not gonna lie, I quite like the spite.
Character, isn't it?
Yeah, I always have done. When I see a player like him going after somebody on Twitter, puts a smile on my face because fans are terrible. Most of them, anyway. They're just getting on people. They're just getting on people just for no reason. Like, imagine if you were getting say your job, you were doing your job, and you had 1,000 people mouthing off at you on Twitter about it. It'd upset you.
Not nice.
No, it would upset you, but you'd hope as a footballer who gets this every week that he would have learnt, or I don't know, be experienced enough in that situation not to rile the fans up. But I think, as you said, he plays for Tranmere and Forest Green and clubs in non-league. This is a massive club, Ipswich Town, he's come to, and he's getting scrutiny that he's probably never had anywhere else. Obviously, he was a big deal at Tranmere, scoring lots of goals. But if you sort of don't score a lot of goals and you're having injury problems at a club like Ipswich, you're going to get a bit of abuse. I know it's not right, and I hate seeing it on Twitter, but it's one of the things that happens.
And of course, we love you lot. We love those in the chat, but the other fans are awful. Joking, by the way.
Well, I just don't really. I think keyboard sort of abuse.
There's a part of the fan base, isn't there? Sorry to interrupt. I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want to cause controversy. But there's a section who simply live on the forums on Twitter just to rile up the players, just to spout abuse, just to be negative. Okay, we all have opinions, but maybe they're taking it too far. I don't know.
I think it's 100% too far. I would never. I don't know where this has come from. I would never even dream of giving somebody stick on the internet. Never ever thought that in my life that today I'm gonna go message James Norwood calling him a prick. You know, I've never thought that in my life. So I don't know where this has suddenly come from, but it's mad world at the moment.
So Reese Curtis says, if Norwood was fit and scoring 15 to 20 goals, 100%. We wouldn't care about his social media account and what he says. The frustration comes from when he isn't fit, because we all know he can score goals. So as you just said, that is 100%. That is spot on almost, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things. Like I'm sure 100% he doesn't try to be injured. You know, people that play football, love playing football, want to go and score loads of goals. And
he doesn't want to be sat at home, does he?
No. And he's sitting at home already frustrated that he can't play and help the team. And he's getting stick from everywhere else as well. Like, that's 100% correct. If he was scoring 20 goals a season, everybody would love him. And we saw that last season when he was scoring a few goals at the beginning of the season. All of these, the Twitter celebration memes coming out, and we're all thinking it was brilliant. As soon as he gets injured and stops scoring, people get on his back. But that's just the way it goes, isn't it?
Exactly, and unfortunately, that's what you kind of have to live with when you're a footballer. Julian Hughes says, apologies about that. Julian Hughes says, if we were top of the league, people would join in, but we're not. We are shit, and he's getting himself up for abuse, which, again, you know, like, harshly put, but I agree with him as well. You know, like, it's all about the way he's playing. It's about the fact that, okay, he can't help himself with getting injured. I think a lot of players, because look at KVY, he's been injured all season, yet he hasn't had any abuse at all, has he yet? Nor does he put himself out there. Maybe he's just opened himself up to it.
He asks for it a little bit, doesn't he? But I don't understand why players go on Twitter and do that. Why wouldn't you just stay out of the way? Stay off it completely. I know there's a lot of talk at the moment, and there's a lot of horrible things going on social media, especially Twitter, with sort of racial abuse going towards players, which is just disgusting that can happen. And I'm completely behind all these teams that are suddenly deciding that it's time to come off of social media until something's done a bit. Yeah, I'm 100% behind it. And to be honest, I think that's a good idea for everybody anyway. So I know Joe Hart got a bit of stick a few weeks ago for his Instagram profile saying, job done, when they played that first leg against the thing, for getting a team in to look at your social media. I think that's something you should look into as well. You shouldn't be looking at bad comments because it it can only be bad for your own mental well-being.
Yeah. And we live in an age where it's so easy to access, like
Absolutely.
maybe, okay, if I was a footballer, okay, I play grassroots football, but that's nothing. If I was a footballer, I wouldn't be on social media at all. That's just me. I wouldn't even bother looking at it because I know that if I had a bad game, a really bad game, all players have bad games, then I'd get abused. And if you're a young player, then your psyche wouldn't look at Luke Thomas, for example. He said that he's had to quit social media, he's had to take a step away from football, all because of social media abuse. It doesn't do his mental health any good. So, okay, getting back to the original question, or however you're going to put this, social media. If I was a player, I wouldn't go on social media at all.
Yeah, it's tough to say what you would do, what you wouldn't until you're in that situation, isn't it? But
yeah,
I think I hear people say, I listen to another podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, and he's obviously massive. He's one of the biggest podcasts in the world. That obviously we're going to absolutely blitz him in a couple of years' time, but that's no problem. Yeah, and but he says he never ever looks at comments. Why would you? What's the point of that?
Exactly.
You don't get anything from it. Like I know a lot of them will be good comments. Like I know if you've had a good game, the most of it will be good comments, but you'll get one bad one, and that's the one you focus on. You don't focus on the bad. You don't focus on all the good ones. That one bad one will really stick out, and I just don't understand why you put yourself through that.
Exactly. And Lee Brad, we're going to talk about the rest of the game in a minute. Norwood has been the best forward at the club. Shame he isn't fit enough and needs to stay off social media. Here. So, okay, let's get back onto the team. Downs, who has been out of action for almost a month with a hamstring injury, came into the centre of midfield of Teddy Bishop and Andre Dazelle in a narrow role. And to his left, Gwion Edwards and, of course, Stephen Ward. Dobra played up front with Drynan, with both of them, starting up front. So, okay, Dobra up front. I didn't know he was a striker. Personally, I thought he was an attacking midfielder, maybe even a midfielder. What was he thinking playing Dobra up front? I'm not being critical. I'm just genuinely curious because
I think he's just trying it, isn't he? I think I don't. Has he played Dobra yet, apart from yesterday?
No.
Where's
Lancaster?
Yeah, I don't know. It's obviously he's seeing some things on in training that we're not seeing, but
yeah,
Dobra's obviously very talented and he looks very good on the ball, and he obviously looks threatening. I just think he's trying to figure out for himself what he wants to keep around him next year. I almost think these 2 games he's sort of put a team together to have a look and have a little see and hoping we get a result from it. That's what I think he's doing. Like, obviously hasn't gone great. 2 0-0 draws, no shots on target in 180 minutes is just scary.
Okay.
Really.
Does Paul Cook believe that we can make it to the playoffs? Because if he's doing these experiments now and he's not playing our strongest squad, personally, I don't know what our strongest squad is, but surely that kind of shows that he's given up hope. It's not his fault, of course. I don't blame him at all. I blame Paul Lambert and Marcus Evans. But do you reckon he's run out of hope almost?
I don't think there was probably a lot of hope when he got here. Obviously, he's going to say the right things to the fans, saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to get top 2" and all this sort of stuff. But I think he's taken a few games and he's realised he's not actually got that much to work with. So I don't think hope is completely lost, but he knows. I think he knows full well. I think he's said in the press a few times that he's trying to big, tough conversations have to happen with players, and I think they're probably already happening. What I actually thought was that, new owners come in, new manager comes in. Usually that would spur on a whole load of players to really show that they can stay at a club.
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm not sure if this is the case or not, but if Paul Cook has already spoken to the players about a lot of you aren't going to be here next season because you've not been good enough.
I think he's done that.
Yeah, I think if he's done that too early and he's now not getting a response from the players because they've almost given up hope. I know that's a sad thing to say because hopefully players would be playing for pride and for their future careers, but I'm just speculating, of course, but that could be the case.
So, Lee Brown says Cook has run out of patience with players. So, Do you reckon the fact that he ran out of patience kind of, I don't know, caused him to maybe be honest with the players and just tell them, okay, you're not going to be here next season? Because, like he was at that fullback for some Barry Cotter, like he left about a month ago, really early on in his managerial career at Ipswich Town. So, like are other players like looking at this and kind of saying, okay, I'm obviously going at the end of the season. Why should I care? Why should I care if we get into the playoffs?
That's just the worst thing to hear, isn't it? You'd think you want to go out on your shield. You want to go out of pride. You want to do your best. And I hope that is the case. I hope we're wrong with what we're saying here. But it doesn't look like it from where we are. But because I know say, how many games we've got left? We can't have many games left.
8. Somebody correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah, if we've got 8 games left. Say is Teddy Bishop out this season? He is, isn't he? I think he's out of contract. Teddy Bishop out of contract this season. If he has the best 8 games in an Ipswich shirt, he could earn himself a shirt next season.
I'd keep him.
Exactly. And if at the moment, he's not standing out. He's not looking like the Teddy Bishop that we saw a few years ago. I know he's had injuries, but he's not. I don't think we'd miss him.
He's 25 as well. He's almost 26. He's not a young player.
Yeah, I say, obviously, our hearts tell us Teddy Bishop, one of our own. Let's keep him. But is he good enough? Like, we've seen him now injury-free all season, basically. I know he's had a few little knocks, but this is the most he's played in a long time, and he's not looked like improving.
Exactly.
Just little things like that. You just like to see more from players. Hopefully with 8 games on remaining, we can still see that.
So, Julian Hughes, and we're just going to wrap up the review, and then we're going to, of course, take your questions. But quickly here, Julian Hughes, most important figure is the future. Lambert has gone, Evans has gone, new manager, new owners, new belief, new football club mentality, good times ahead for the younger generation. Lee Brown, 4 touches of the ball in the first half yesterday, not good enough. So, okay, let's quickly talk about that. So, of course, Alan Judge and Troy Parrott were dropped to the bench, which confused me. But Tristan Nydam, here's some good news. Tristan Nydam returned to the match day 18. James Nord remained absent, having suffered a thigh injury last weekend, and KVY was also not in the 18th following a hamstring injury for the MK Dons. Defender Warren O'Hara, midfielder Lewis Thompson, and veteran striker Cameron Jerome, former Norwich player, don't forget, missed out due to injury, with long-serving skipper Dean Lewington, Scott Fraser, and Will Grigg, who played for, I thought he played for Sunderland, who played for Town Boss Cook at Wigan, also playing for the Dons, returning to the starting 18 anyway. Following a 2-minute silence, though, in tribute to His Royal Highness Prince Philip. We're not going to go all political about that. The Blues started and kicked off, and the first action of the game saw Dobra pick up a yellow card within the first minute for an over-the-top challenge on Dean Lewington. Now, Dobra, we've seen him get a red card before. He got a red card last season, or the season before, I'm not sure, at Accrington Stanley. Is he a bit too rough? Should we maybe be telling him to, I don't know, tone it down a bit?
I don't think turning it down a bit is the right thing to say. I like the fact, I think Downs is the same. A few of them are the same. I think
Bishop is actually.
Bishop dives into tackles, and so does Nydam. When Nydam played a couple of years ago, whenever it was, he used to fly into tackles as well. It might just be the way that they were brought through the academy. And personally, I love it. Personally, I think it's great. I think it gets fans off their seats.
It shows a better bite, doesn't it?
But it does. But obviously, if he could show that in a different way, winning second balls, little things like that, that would be better. Just going over the ball and taking people out in the first 5 minutes is not a great look.
But anyway, Drynan tried to put keeper Fisher under pressure, but Paul Cook, and this is from my perspective, seemingly had a lot to say to the front players, because we could hear him loudly instructing players from the sidelines. Visiting keeper Fisher was having a shaky start, and on 10, he made heavy weather of dealing with a corner from the right, but the ball didn't fall for the Town player, and it was ultimately cleared. So, Fisher, shaky start, wasn't having the best of games to begin with. Should we maybe have exposed him? Because, he didn't start well at all. Maybe we could have had something from that. I also just mentioned I could hear Paul Cook from the sidelines. He obviously wasn't happy with what he saw.
I think we've heard a lot of Paul Cook from the sidelines screaming and shouting at everybody to try and get them to do the right things. But it's not happening for them. Well, it's not happening for him as a coach, and it's not happening for the players. And you say, should we have worked the keeper harder? We should have worked the keeper at least once, please. It's not a shot on target all game. We've not worked that keeper once all game. I know Sears in the second half, keeper comes flying out of his line as well. In no man's land should score. But other than that, I can't remember us battering their goal.
Exactly, and with Chairman Mike O'Leary watching from the stands, things had seemingly started well with the Dons unable to get the ball. However, ultimately we were unable to threaten. On the 20th minute mark, however, when Enciala turned Daniel's cross wide, there was a corner, and Zach Jules ultimately shot straight to Thomas Holy, who had slipped over. On 22, Ward crossed low from the left, and Edwards went to ground as he battled to get the ball past two defenders, but referee Tom Neild wasn't having it. MK Dons continued to see most of the ball, but without threatening. And again, the best chance of the half was on the 42nd minute when the visitors knocked it wide. Scott Fraser shot into the side netting after a great effort had been blocked by Enciala. So yeah, two poor teams in the first half. Nothing much really happened. Both of us struggled, to be fair, and it showed the lack of quality. We want Will Grigg, don't we? Well, he didn't do much either, did he?
Yeah, we said that earlier.
What did he make? What did he make of the first half?
Well, I told you before the show, I missed some of the first half. I was driving to London to see a friend. And I was quite pleased, actually. I sort of sat there and I was like, I need to rush. I need to get there and put Ipswich on. And then I sort of thought, do I need to rush? Because
will he miss anything?
Will I miss anything? And obviously not. And then I turned it on and it was dreary. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I wish I took longer. But no, I think both teams are poor. I think a couple of their players in their team had quite nice games. Lewington, he's been around for absolutely ever. He had a good game, Lewington. Yeah. But yeah, we struggled. We just got no sort of pattern, no sort of way of playing still at the moment. I know we've said this a few times, but there's a thing that's been a constant in the last few years of the demise of Ipswich, and that's the players. The players are still there,
as Leigh says,
Yeah, Leigh, perfect. What you've said, it's the players are the same thing here. They're all awful. I know some of them are promising, but it's the players that have been really, really struggling, making us look bad as a club.
Agreed, and get your questions and get your thoughts on that, because of course after the review we'll be talking about them. So yep, we go in at half time. It was 0-0, not an exciting half at all. I wouldn't have blamed you all if you fell asleep. So we start the second half. It was cagey in both halves. Both sides had long spells of possession, but were only able to find a way through the opposition's backline with two chances, or two late chances, rather, at each end. Okay, to be honest, I'm not really going to talk about much more of the game. Okay, in the 61st minute, this is what I have written in my notes. Dons swapped Matthew Sorolina, or however the hell you pronounce that, for Harvey, and that kind of made a small change. But ultimately, okay, we're going to run the review now because there wasn't much to talk about. It wasn't an exciting game. And from what I saw, whenever we looked to go forward, we just passed it back again. What's that all about? Why do we do that?
It's confidence, I think. If you had more confidence in the players around you and in your own ability, these little things come off. I know, it's probably we're not going to talk much more about this, but I know Freddie Sears missed that big chance. When he came on, I thought, oh, Freddie Sears is running about a bit here. He's putting a bit of effort in. And then obviously he had a couple of chances. He had that shot that just went past the keeper's left, and for a long time that shot I thought that's in, and then that's just gone wide. So that's a good chance. And then that lob that he's tried to do a bit later on he needs to score that. That upset me how he didn't score that. But he looked okay when he come on.
Yeah, Nord would have scored that though.
Well, you'd like to think so.
So okay, we spoke briefly about this either before the show went on air or actually during the show, but we spoke about Freddie Sears, and is he a player who's battling it out for a new contract? Because in my opinion, he isn't good enough to stay at Town. I know Colchester want him, maybe he'll be off to Colchester, but at Ipswich Town, in my opinion, he isn't good enough at all.
I think everybody thinks that. He's not shown anything really for us for a while now. I know he burst
He's old
on.
As well.
He's in his 30s. He's out of contract. He's not done anything to earn him a new contract. He started off well for us a few years ago. Obviously, that playoff season he was great, but he's not done a lot since there. Leigh's just put there at the bottom. Sears needs to move on. And I completely agree, but he's not going to be playing at a higher level than this ever again. I think he's done here.
Absolutely spot on. And anyway, let's quickly talk about the team stats before we talk about the league table. Ipswich had 7 shots with the MK Dons 7-13. Okay, here's an embarrassing stat. Town had 0 shots on target, whereas the MK Dons had 5. We had 33% possession, whereas they had 67. And yeah, that is not great at all. Their passing accuracy was higher than ours. They made more passes than we did. We got more yellow cards than them, committed more fouls. Yet at the end of the day, we didn't do anything on the ball. We didn't create anything. We didn't move the ball around. So yeah, what can he change?
I don't know. I just, as we said earlier, players aren't good enough. I think even I went probably a couple of years ago now to MK Dons away. It's a beautiful ground, but they had nobody there, and we took sort of 4,000 or 3,000, I think it was, and they played us off the park for a lot of it. And that was even then. They had a lot of the ball, I remember, and we were in real trouble. I think we nicked a 1-0 win. But they seem a good passing side. They did then. But it's a shame. Every week, I've said this before, every week teams come along and we make them look decent. Because we just lump it down the line and miss all our passes and give yellow cards away, go diving into tackles. These other teams come and play little nice patterns, get balls in the box, get shots away. Yeah, it's just a shame. Every week, it's hopefully, fingers crossed, new owners, new manager, investment in the summer, new players in, will look like world beaters next year. That's
Fingers
what I'm hoping
crossed.
for. Yeah,
touch wood.
100%. Absolutely.
So, okay, let's look at the league table. Okay, I haven't included the bottom half of the league table because we don't really need to talk about that. But Hull City are first, of course, Peterborough second, Sunderland third, Blackpool fourth. We are 8th in the table on 60 points. We are 3 points below the playoffs, which is surprising given how we played. But Charlton are just above us in 7th on 62 points. They could easily, bump us off that position. Fleetwood are 13th in the league table. If they go on a really good run, maybe. Did I say Fleetwood? MK Dons, sorry. Apologies about that. MK Dons are actually 14th, not Fleetwood. They have 55 points. And if they go on a really good run, as I just said, maybe they can make it to the playoffs. But that is incredibly unrealistic. So, yeah, what do you make of the league table? Because it's surprising that we're still in this position, given how we've been playing.
Yeah, it's surprising because we are awful, but it just shows how awful everybody else is. Looking below us, Oxford, they had a good run a few months ago. Gillingham can play well. Doncaster were unbelievable a few months ago, and now they're sitting 11th.
Yeah.
So I think midweek, have we got Wimbledon midweek?
We have, yes.
We've got Wimbledon. They're not even on that list, or are they? They're not even on that list.
No, they're not. I think they're 18th.
So I hope we can beat them, but we've made hard work of Rochdale. So I hope we can beat them, and then we've got Charlton on Saturday. So if we can get a result against Charlton, we can get 2 good results. I know it's hopeful thinking how the last 2 games have gone, but if we can get 2 results here, we're right in amongst it with 6th.
Exactly. And okay, we're now going to open the floor up to your questions. So if you have any questions, we're going to read your comments in a minute. Then put them into the chat. We'll get onto them. But one final question, because we did tease this space on Twitter and at the beginning of the show. Paul Cook, he didn't actually attend the press conference. Matt Gill did it for him. I haven't actually got the quotes on me, but what do you make of Paul Cook not going to the press conference? Is it simply a case of him wanting to speak to the players after a bad performance, or is he maybe losing his head a bit? I think the latter's a bit harsh to say, but we can always add that into the mix, can't we?
I hope not. I think I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say without him telling us in person next time. Every time he spoke to the media, he seems like a good bloke. Seems keen to speak to the media.
Two voices as well. Weird.
Yeah, yeah. I just think obviously 2 tough results. Really, you'd want more from him. Hopefully, he's just giving the players a few hard truths in the dressing room. Josh has just said something in the chat. Sadly, he's not going ahead. Yeah, forgot. My apologies.
Yeah, I forgot as well. Yeah. Due to the funeral, I think.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get on to the comments. Feel free to ask your questions down below. Ask questions maybe about the players, maybe about management, your thoughts on the takeover, anything like that. We will get you involved. So here are the comments. Wimbledon scored 5 on Saturday. I didn't realise that. Did they beat Accrington? I think they did.
Got no idea. I'm trying to stay away from it, to be honest. League One at the moment, it's shocking.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I watched Peterborough Sunderland because that was a massive game, and that was okay, decent.
Yeah,
but the rest of it's not great. It's
actual goals.
Yeah, well, they drew 1-1, didn't they? It's a good goal though, that the equaliser. But yeah, to be honest, you say Wimbledon scored 5 Saturday, but how awful was that other team then? Because we've seen some shockers.
Yeah. So the players seem to be going through the motions, which I think is spot on. Seriously smooth on Lee Brown and good midweek game coming up. Julian Hughes says Cook has come to a club for the most part under Evans, which has been going downhill. Losing mentality, 6 loanies, aging pros and high wages. This all needs to be ripped up and a fresh start. So this is a great transition onto Josh Russell's question. Who would you, Aaron, keep out of the current squad? Because we do have some very good players on the bench. Maybe the players starting aren't necessarily good enough as well.
I think we need a new goalkeeper. So I don't know what his contract situation is like, but I'd keep Holy, whatever, but I'd get a better goalkeeper. Somebody to replace a new right back, but I'd keep Chambers in the squad. Obviously, KVY still under contract, but he'll be injured. Keep Toto, because Toto's had a good season for us. I'd keep Wilson.
I would.
Because he's been decent.
Is he injured?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's injured. And then Wolfenden's obviously going to stay. I'd get rid of Ward. And then Paul Cook's probably going to look for a replacement for Kenlock, which I understand. And I think we do need an upgrade at left back. I think it's quite a glaring issue for us. Downs stays in the team. Downs is the best player we've got by a long way.
Agreed.
Every time I see him play and play well, he's sort of all hustle and bustle. I don't know why this has started happening this season, but he seems to just charge into tackles like a rugby player. But I like him. I always have done. I think he's been brilliant. I think he's a brilliant talent. Bishop's a tough one. I'm not sure on Bishop yet. My heart says yes, keep him. He's talented, but how long can you be talented and not show anything? So I'm not sure on Bishop. Obviously, Dazell's staying. Guillon's another interesting one because he blows hot and cold. So I'm not sure about him. I'd probably keep him around because I know he likes to play left wing, but he's sort of decent everywhere he plays. He's decent. He's not special on the right wing or when he plays right wing back. But when he plays left wing back and he plays well, he does okay. Sears has got to go.
Agreed. Spot on.
Drynan will go. Who else is going to go? It's
Hughes?
Hawkins. Yeah, Hughes. I think Hughes is done. I don't even put him in the conversation.
Yeah,
What about Hawkins? How long's Hawkins? Is this Hawkins's?
2-year I think. I'm purely speculating. So in the comments, if you know his contract, then let
Yeah,
us know. But I don't know.
he's a nice option off the bench, I guess.
Not great though.
No, he's not great, but if he's under contract, he's not worth. He's not. We're not going to get any money for him, so there's no point trying to sell him.
Exactly.
And I would get rid of Jackson. I don't know why, because a couple of seasons ago he did all right, but as we've said,
just decently though. He didn't set the world alight.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. But I think the fact that we've not going to get a lot of money for him now is a big one for me. Like, I know we'd make a bit of money on him, but nothing like we spent on him, and nothing like we got offered last season.
A year left for Hawkins, so yep.
Yeah, so he's going to be here whatever happens, but he's not great. So yeah, there's so much improvement to make all over the pitch. Some serious money is going to need to be spent, and I hope we can do it.
So okay, last Wednesday we also spoke about this. We said that it might actually be worth getting rid of our good players like Flynn Downs, players who are actually worth something, because that would be money to actually put into the squad. We need to get all the money we can get. This might be last chance saloon for a lot of these young players. And you saw what happened with Caden Jackson. He's not a young player, but we turned down that bid. So okay. West Ham come in again for Flynn Downs. They offer you $2 million, which is a lot of money for a League One club. Would you take it or would you turn it down?
I don't think we'd get that for him now anyway.
Even with a loan option in it, so okay, a season in on loan maybe.
He's hardly played this season, Flynn Downs.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd get anywhere near what we would have got. And that would be classic Evans to get rid of him for less money than we could have done. I think it's worth keeping hold of him for now because he's the best player we got. I know he's, I don't know, it's tough, but I don't think getting rid of your best player is the way forward at the moment. Especially as I just said, he's not played a lot this season. He's not shown the world how good he can be. But I would keep hold of him. Because if he has a good season next year, keeps fit next year, that's when you get rid of him.
Yeah.
If he has a great season next year, not even get rid, because say we get promoted next season, right, and we go up well and he plays all season and has a great year, you go from getting $1 million for him in the summer, potentially, to getting 6 or 7. And that's the difference. But obviously, that's all comes in luck. It's got to be lucky for that to happen. If he had for him to be injury free, but I wouldn't be going to get rid of your best player.
And of course, gay questions in. We will be wrapping up in a minute. But okay, Jack Lancaster, here, we've had his father on the show in the past. He's happy at the club, but he hasn't played. Okay, somebody in the comments let me know or let us know whether he's injured or not. But would you keep him or would you maybe let him go if a championship team maybe comes in for him?
I can't see a championship team coming in for him. He looked good, didn't he, when he first sort of burst on the scene for us? He looked decent. I think he's had a back injury, didn't he? And it's kept him out.
Fracture in his back, I think.
Which is a tough one. I think anything to do with the back is trouble.
Even when you're young.
Yeah, so tough one. I don't know, really. Obviously, I think we'll end up keeping him. Of course we will. But I can't see anybody big coming in for him. Yeah, I just hope that he can get back up to speed like as he was and start showing us again why we thought he was so good.
So he's not injured, or we don't think he's injured, but he's not being picked.
To be fair, I don't think I'd be picking him at the moment. Every time I see him play, Every time I've seen him play, I thought, no.
I'd play him as a wing back over Ward. No, seriously, because he's quick, he can get the balls into the box. Ward being played as a wing back, he can't do that. He hasn't got any legs on him, has he?
No, true. Like he's just obviously Paul Cook's seen something that he obviously isn't happy with.
Yeah, doesn't like.
Obviously, but he's obviously we saw a lot of talent from Jack Lancaster, but this season when he's played, I don't think we've seen the best out of him. I'm not sure if that's because No, I'm not sure if that's the same sort of thing as Andre Dazelle a couple of years ago or last season when he'd play 5 games a year, but he'd never get a run in the team to show us. So maybe if he got a run in the team, we could show us how good he is again. But at the moment, I don't know. I've not looked at Jack Lancaster this season and thought, oh, what a player. He's got to play every week, you know?
And the final name I'm going to throw out there before we do wrap up, would you keep Corey Ndaba? Because I have no
100%.
idea where he is at the moment, whether he has a future at the club, but what's going on with him? And would you maybe give him a run under Paul Cook?
Well, he's on loan, isn't he? Is he at Ayr?
He was in Team of the Week a few weeks ago, so he is getting games there.
Yeah, he's playing. I think he's doing okay. I think he plays a lot of left back for them though, because he's got a nice left foot. I remember I went to the Germany trip on pre-season.
Really?
Under Lambert, yeah. Me and a few friends went to that, and he played centre half, and he was fantastic. Like Corey Ndaba, he just looked so graceful on the ball. He just bring it down, play on the ball through the lines. He looked brilliant, but I think he got. I think Lambert thought he had an attitude issue, and that's why he didn't get in the squad. But when I saw him play, I was like, he's the answer, this fella. Like, because left-sided centre half, nice left foot, decent size. I'd keep him 100%. I'd try and find a way for getting him in.
But would you blame Paul Lambert maybe for his attitude issue? Because I think it was last year, maybe the year before, team photo, which they do every year, he didn't let the younger players join in because he said to them that they had to deserve it. They had to achieve it before they did it. Is that the reason why their attitude isn't great? Potentially, yeah. I think it's probably a bit outdated, that sort of technique. I think people need a sort of, I know it's a bit weird, but I think players need a bit of a cuddle nowadays. In the age of social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Josh Russell.
What did he put? Yes, 100%. It's Lambert's fault. The team is so shit. I blame it on Hurst as well, to be fair. A bit of both. Because Lambert didn't bring anybody in. Paul Hurst, he bought in a whole load of League One talent. Look where we are. Same squad. We're not doing any better, really. So, okay, final question. Who's worse, Paul Lambert or Paul Hurst?
Paul Hurst.
Spot on. And is it because of the players he brought in, or maybe
just everything? He brought in a load of League One players, and then proceeded to upset everybody in the matter of a few weeks. I seem to remember.
Josh Russell, Lambert.
Yeah, but obviously they both got their. Well, Paul Lambert come in, and we all thought, "Oh, the saviour! He's brought a good vibe back to the club." We're all waving.
3 beers.
Yeah, we're all waving, holding hands, celebrating. Oh, the club's back. We've got our club back. A few months later, sacked. I just think Hurst just upset everybody so quickly. I remember was it Chambers for a right strop?
Yeah, and Biakowski.
Biakowski. Yeah. Biakowski, best player we had season in, season out.
Yeah.
And he throws toys out. So he's obviously upset a load of our best players, and all of a sudden, sacked in League One.
Yeah. Okay, if we had Paul Hurst with us now, because he's a League One manager, he got Shrewsbury into the playoffs. They didn't go up, of course, but he did well. If we had Paul Hurst now, he knows League One, he knows all the players. He's a seasoned veteran in League One. I know he's young, but he's been there a long time. Would we be in this position? Because we bought in Paul Lambert. He was in League One with Norwich, but that was a different League One, different teams, not so many big teams. Would we maybe be in a better off spot with Paul Hurst now if we had kept him?
I think Paul Hurst would have had to have made some really difficult decisions, which would have upset the dressing room. I think he would have had to do like a proper full revamp, because obviously he's upset Luke Chambers and he's massive in the change room. So he'd probably have had to get rid of Chambers, which is a tough thing to do. And that would take out more leaders. Skuse would have to go. Everybody would have to go. It'd be a complete revamp. And I just don't think that would have happened. I think it would have gone the same way every time he would have tried it. He probably means well. He's probably a good coach, Paul Hurst, but he's come into a sort of Yeah, it's like we've said. I've said it a couple of times today. We've got the same players that are bringing us down, and until that changes, I've this perfect opportunity this summer for this to change. I think this is always going to happen like this, no matter who we had, because you can't sort of. I don't know. There's a phrase for this, but I've forgotten what it was. But you can't sort of teach an old dog new tricks. Is that the right
Spot on.
phrase?
That is the right
Yeah,
one.
and
Yeah.
I think that's something we've got going on with this club at the moment, where we're not learning, we can't improve.
Spot on. And just to end the show, Julian Hughes, big owners will be gone. Lots of players will be available. So we will rip the league up next year.
Love it.
Get your season tickets and enjoy the roller coaster. And to end the show, I just need to plug in our sponsor, Julian Hughes. Ironically, I'm going to keep his comments up. Julian Hughes is a golf coach. He's a fantastic golf coach. He teaches at Old Joe's Golf and is a member of the World Golf Teachers Federation. Whether you're just starting out on your golfing journey or you already know how to play, Julian can help you improve your game. So what are you waiting for? Book lessons through Old Joe's or directly through Julian Hughes at 07392 834 199. I'll repeat that again, 07392 834 199. And of course, mention We Follow the Town for a 20% discount. And in the next couple of weeks, we have a very exciting guest. So we'll keep you updated with that. We don't want to spoil anything now. And of course, I want to thank you, Aaron, for being on today's show. You will be back next week, of course, as will Leigh. And as always, keep following the town.